For a while now, you've probably felt like there's something more available for you. A better job that pays you more, that business venture you've had your eye on for years, that side hustle that you know will double your income. Yet every time you take a step towards this future, this alternate version of you, fear and resistance comes up in the most insidious ways. Procrastination, unworthiness, feelings of doubt that keep coming up to the point where you just go back to the way you were, to go back to the way you were doing things. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about your intuition, that guiding force that guides you through the unknown, and your protective ego. And knowing the difference between these two and navigating these waters using your intuition is the key to achieving success in any area of your life, no matter what it is you have your eye on. So many of us hold ourselves back. And stay to the end of the video where I'll actually give you a quick little technique to be sure that you consistently have an endless supply of energy to achieve whatever it is you desire. So with that being said, let's get right into the video. You start taking action towards this thing, and immediately your mind comes up with resistance. Like you're selling an idea to somebody and they keep coming up with ideas of why you shouldn't do it. Yeah, you can't do that because it's too risky. What if it doesn't work out for you? What if you lose the safety you have today? The ego works in a loop. It works in a cycle, and you will notice this. When you're thinking about something you want to do, when you begin taking action, it's usually the same story, the same reasons that keep coming up again and again, bringing you back to that one reason of why you should not do it. Now take a moment and really feel into that. I'll ask you, have you felt like there's something more available to you that you've had lingering above you for months or even years? That you keep coming back to the same reason of why you shouldn't do it, why it would be safe to do what you're doing now, why it would be so rational to do what you're doing right now. This is because the ego engages with the left brain. And I'm not here to say the ego is bad. We wouldn't exist as a species, as human beings, if we did not have egos. And a healthy ego that's kept in check can be an incredible guiding force to turn things like fear and anger into something very powerful to propel you forward. But it's only when we let our egos take the wheel that it will consistently try to bring us back to exactly where we are. Because it wants to keep us safe, and keeping safe to it means keeping you stuck in this current frequency, this current version of reality. At the end of the day, the universe, the divine forces that govern everything around us, pursue harmony and balance. And if everybody was just able to easily shift their frequencies out of wherever they were at, without having consistent things that they're doing and thinking and working themselves through, then the universe that's attempting to achieve a certain level of harmony would have an incredibly hard time maintaining this sort of equilibrium. Now compare that left brain rational thinking, which is only 10% of your mind's power, by the way. The vast majority resides in the right brain, that infinite expansive awareness. And this part of your mind, this part of your brain, the right hemisphere, connects deeply with the heart. There's a heart-mind connection that takes place that's actually called heart-mind coherence. And this actually creates an energetic field around your body that's been scientifically proven. That it creates an energetic field around your body. And as you're listening to this force, as you're tuning into this energy, it will actually attract opportunities towards you. It'll actually let you see and perceive things more clearly, but only if you're open to those ideas and move forward into those ideas with complete faith. You see, the intuition works almost as a spiral. We talked about the ego as a loop. The intuition is almost like you're at the center of where you're at right now, and you go on this hero's journey outwards, which almost feels like you're leaving home, but you feel there's a sense of expansion. And that is the biggest difference between the ego loop and the intuitive spiral. You'll feel a sense of expansion. Let me ask you, this thing that you want to do, right? You want to start a business, for example. Do you feel like it's going to expand you as a person in many ways? Do you feel like it's going to expand your personality? Maybe it's going to expand your income. These things, of course, are not certain because the rational mind wants to look for evidence before you do anything. And to shift to an alternate frequency It takes holding a consistent vibration, which is controlled by you through your thoughts and feelings, and then, of course, actions. Over a long enough time period, will begin moving you away from the center of this spiral, moving forward, outwards and outwards and outwards and outwards. And before you look back, before you even realize it, you'll look back and you'll see how far you've actually come from where you were. Okay, but now how do you actually do this when you're so exhausted coming home from work? When you're so trapped in the current frequency or the survival paradigm, just making your ends meet? The key here is actually to tap into a force outside of yourself. Because you, as a human being, are not just a physical being. You're a mind, body, and soul all combined into one. And at a soul level, you're able to generate a very, finite, specific amount of energy every day through two ways: through the food you eat and the air you breathe. This generates energy within your body, in your life center. It generates what we call life within us, the life force. And there's a limited amount of it. That's just the truth. You go through your job, you work all day, and you're depleted, and it's not your fault. Because that's the system we live in. It's designed to feed off of that energy. But there is a energy, a life force that's outside of us, that kings, pharaohs, mystics, inventors have known for centuries, even thousands of years. And that is universal life force energy. And once you make connection with this, force, and realize there is a energy available outside of you that's infinite, you will now have the ability, and I've experienced it firsthand, you will have the ability to achieve incredible things. Now, I was doing this even when I was unaware. I was 19 years old. I was involved with people that weren't doing great things, to be honest. They were going down pretty dark paths. And I, for one, felt this intuitive feeling that I didn't want to be there. Although a part of my ego had me in this loop, thinking that it was safe, thinking that these friends were actually looking out for my best interest, thinking that they were even actually my friends. And it was only until I decided to take radical action and align my thoughts and emotions in realizing that I needed to move far away from home, moving to a completely different state or province, that things began to rapidly shift for me. In a matter of maybe 1.5 years, I became a paramedic. I started working full time. I started making more money than I'd ever made in that point in time. And it all came down to this idea of tapping into a force outside of myself. I had nothing to hang on to. I was so depleted energetically on a daily basis. I was even working 2 jobs at one point in my teenage years, working 16 hours a day. And it was this force outside of myself that I wasn't even aware of, that I can now tell you this technique of tapping into. So what you want to do is, preferably at night, sit down in a nice quiet place, relax, close your eyes, bring attention to the parts of your body that have tension, and simply bringing the awareness will begin to melt and loosen up those areas. We'll begin to relax them until you've done that with all of the parts of your body where you've noticed this physical tension, where this energy sort of binds or obstructs this flow of universal life force energy. And then eventually you'll get to a point where you can drop into silence, letting go of all your thoughts, emotions, desires, everything you've pent up during the day, letting these things gently go. And even if you can do this for a minute, in that moment, you can repeat this phrase to yourself. Because in the mental plane, you're a law unto yourself. So what you actually believe actually becomes true. Especially when you believe it with a high conviction. In this state, you want to say to yourself, I am one with the universal life force energy. It is flowing through me now. I feel it. And one more caveat that I forgot to mention is you want to make sure your left palm is up. Because even in energetic healing, Reiki, and traditional medicine, the left palm, the left side of the body is considered the receiving side. The right side of the body is considered the giving side. So left palm up, right palm down. Go through that technique. And when you're in silence, repeat that phrase to yourself. Realize that you're far more powerful than anybody has ever told you. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Until next time, peace.